A junior doctor convicted over the death of a 6-year-old boy has won an appeal over the decision to strike her off. But Dr. Hadiza Bauer-Garber will still face the lesser sanction previously imposed of a 1-year suspension following Jack Adcock's death in 2011. His mum, Nikki Adcock, gave her reaction.
I think it's an absolute disgrace. I think it's absolutely disgusting. She made 21 mistakes herself, all her own human errors, not system errors, her own human errors, and to be perfectly honest, I cannot believe they're going to be reinstating her.
A jury has been told it may start deliberations tomorrow in the trial of England cricketer Ben Stokes after a judge summed up the evidence in the case. The all-rounder denies account of a fray following an incident outside a nightclub in Bristol last year. Jeremy Corbyn has said he was present but not involved in a wreath-laying ceremony to remember Palestinian martyrs. Critics have accused the Labour leader of honouring terrorists. Ticketmaster's decision to close its secondary resale sites has been celebrated by music fans. No new events will now be listed on Get Me In and Seatwave. The company will instead offer a new platform for fans to sell tickets at face value or less. Annabelle Coldrick is from the Music Managers Forum.
Ticketmaster now offering this really shows that the whole market has agreed that there is a need for face value, fan-friendly resale and to freeze out the touts who are purely seeking profit.
The Housing Secretary's rejected claims no new cash is being invested in eradicating rough sleeping. James Brokenshire says half of the money will be moved from other budgets within his department. And a grieving killer whale has finally let go of her dead calf after carrying it on her back for 17 days. Experts say she's returned to her pod after a tour of grief stretching for more than 1,000 miles. She was spotted in inland waters off Washington State. That's the latest. I'm Tanya Snuggs.
Good evening, everybody, and this is a big welcome from Duncan McIntosh, and this is my regular Monday night show, and it's 6 o'clock, and I just can't telling you how wonderful this is, because this is our elevation now. This is our new premises. It's a lovely new studio. It's got lovely bright lights, and I can see what I'm doing in here, and it's very pleasant. We've got pot plants and comfy chairs, and it's just so splendid. So thank you very much for listening this evening. And I hope you enjoy the show. I'm going to, as usual, I've got a little bit of news to read about various things. And really, I've got an eclectic collection of music. And, I get lots of requests, and I get requests for Etta James and Janice Ian. And recently, because I've been playing Chet Baker, people start asking for Chet Baker tracks. So a bit of that as well. I've got another bit of Art Blakey. I'm not going to play too many jazz tracks tonight, and because I've got quite a lot of requests. I've got some Corin Bailey Ray. I've got, as I said, Etta James. I've got some Diana Ross as well. A really, really good track was the Diana Ross with Marvin Gaye. And as always, Norman's been sending me some lovely requests, and I'm going to try and play a couple of them. I'm struggling to find a couple of them, but if I don't play them tonight, Norman, don't worry, I'm going to play them next week. And what I'm also going to play tonight is some more Gloria Estefan, because I know everybody likes that. But I want to talk about that first track, first of all. Obviously you recognise the tune. It's Stevie Wonder's lovely song, Superwoman. And really it's a marvellous track. The Stevie Wonder version of that originally was a great track. But that, I just thought for a contrast I'd play that. And what that is, it's actually... It's a 1978 version. It's a cover version, strangely enough. And it's Patty Austin, who's a fabulous girl singer. And she's singing with a group called the New York Super Singers, who are a lovely choir. And the arrangement and the band is Quincy Jones. So a really super version of that. Of course, it's still the original composition by Stevie Wonder, but it's a version of that, and I particularly like that version. That's from a wonderful album of Quincy Jones, and the album's called Stuff Like That. I think that's the right title. I never know how to say these things. Indeed, it is. It's actually called Sounds and Stuff Like That. And I've often played the title track of that, but I've now got the whole album, so I'll be sharing some of the other tracks, possibly not tonight, but certainly as time goes on. And what I'd like to do also is talk a little bit. You maybe have read in the news that Aretha Franklin is really desperately ill, and she's been unwell for a number of years now. But I think she's quite badly ill now. So I'm going to play a couple of Aretha Franklin tracks, and one of them is strangely called "I Say a Little Prayer," and I just think that's lovely. To whatever religion and whatever religious beliefs you have, it's just lovely to think that the power of prayer will provide comfort to some people. So this is Aretha Franklin, and this is one of the great standards that she recorded, and this is "I Say a Little Prayer."
just take time and all through my coffee break time. I said a little prayer for you. Forever and ever, stay in my heart and I will love you forever and ever. The bottom of my love you together. It must be to live without you would only be heartbreak for me. Nobody but me. Forever and ever, stay in my heart and I will love you forever and ever. The bottom of my love you together. It must be to live without you would only be heartbreak for me. My darling, believe me. For me there is no one but you. Please love me too. I'm in love with you. Answer my prayer. Answer my prayer, baby. Answer my prayer. Say you love me too. Answer my prayer. Answer my prayer, baby. Answer my prayer. And forever, ever, ever, ever. I will love you forever and ever. The bottom of my love you together. How it must be to live without you would only be heartbreak for me. Oh, nobody but me. My darling, believe me. For me there is no one but you. Please love me too. This is my prayer. Answer my prayer now, baby. This is my prayer. Answer it right now, baby. Say you love me too. Answer my prayer. This is my prayer, baby.
That was the lovely Aretha Franklin singing I Say a Little Prayer. And as I said a moment ago, she's not desperately well, and that's meant in respect. And I do wish her every good recovery, but I think she's been ill for a number of years now. So that's lovely. That's a little tribute of mine to Aretha Franklin. Oh, by the way, that Quincy Jones track with Patty Austin, the drummer on there was Steve Gadd as well. And, Steve Gadd is just my favourite sort of drummer of that genre. But, a little while ago, I played a Jerry Mulligan track, and that Jerry Mulligan track was very well received. Lots of people loved that. So to take us up to the advert break, I'm going to play you another Jerry Mulligan track, a particular favourite of mine. And then I'm going to play the messages from the sponsors, of course. It's very important to us, the people supporting the station. So, get in touch with us. Keep on top of the website. The website's got lots of interesting information, and really and truly, the Facebook, the Twitter account, just really please try and get keep up with what we're doing. And I can't tell you how much we've changed. We've moved into central Solihull now. We've got a lovely view out the window, mainly of the high street, but nevertheless, we're actually right in the centre of Solihull, and people can actually come in and see us here. And the phone number, of course, has had to change, unfortunately, but it's quite a nice number. It's 0121 7040 185. Let's play this Jerry Mulligan track, and then we'll go to the messages from the sponsors, and then we'll have another little chat about what's going on in the area.
solihullradio.com.
Fed up with condensation every morning and hate that yucky mould patch in the bathroom? It's time to contact EnviroVent. They've helped tackle mould and condensation dampness in over 1 million homes, just like yours. To find out more and to book a free home survey, visit envirovent.com, because air matters.
solihullradio.com.
Stagecoach Solihull teaches skills
in drama, singing and dance.
But these skills don't just vanish when the curtain falls.
They're skills for life, stretching imaginations and improving literacy.
For a career in the arts, learning new skills, or just having fun.
So visit our website
www.stagecoach.co.uk/Solihull.
Stagecoach Solihull. Skills for the arts.
Skills for life.
Yeah!
The Fireplace and Stove Centre, 1204 Stratford Road, Hall Green. Specialists in wood-burning stoves, gas and electric fires with over 50 live displays in the showroom. Come in and experience your new fireplace solutions. Call 0121 777 85 85 for more details.
You're listening to Solihull Radio.
Indian Dream on Dove House Parade, Solihull's premier family-run restaurant offering authentic Indian and Bangladeshi cuisine with fresh ingredients and creative chefs. They can provide bespoke dining experiences, eat in or take away. 0121 704 9058.
Solihull Radio.
magnificent track. Now, that's from the same album as the Art Blakey track I played last week. And you remember that track was called Blues March. And it's the most novel and interesting piece of music because it actually just is a simple 4-bar blues played over the top of what is essentially a military march. And I've absolutely loved that track. It's just really, really good. So I'm going to carry on now. And by the way, I told you that the drummer on that Patty Austin version of Superwoman was Steve Gadd. I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed Steve Gadd's playing over the years. So I'll continue to play more Steve Gadd tracks as well. And so anyway, a little bit more information about the station. The telephone number here, and this is a change. We're no longer at the previous premises. Now, the previous premises were provided in association with TC Cars. They were absolutely wonderful to us, and they helped us get started. And, we've had them for jolly nearly getting on for, well, it must be 10, 11 months now. So we've actually been doing this for a long time now. And they were very kind, and they helped us tremendously get started, including helping us with some furniture. And now we've moved into these lovely new premises in central Solihull. And of course, the more journalistic people in the team here are absolutely determined to do things like, interviewing people and having lots of guests. And I mean, to be fair, lots of people already do that on the old premises, but the new premises are bang in the middle of the high street. So it's just so much easier here and so much more pleasant for people coming in. As I said before, and I'm still astonished that we do have pot plants and comfortable chairs now. So that just makes such a difference. And it makes such a difference to us doing the shows because, first of all, we can see what we're doing because the lighting's very good in here. And the studio is sort of airy and pleasant, and it's a very, very comfortable temperature. The telephone number here, and I said it's changed, the telephone number here is 7040. Now that's an 0121 number. It's still the same local number, 0121 7040 185. Nice easy number to remember again, 7040 185. So that's the telephone number in here, so you can phone in and talk to whoever's on the air at any particular time. And of course, as you know, we do telephone interviews here, and I've done a couple of those myself. So, but other people are much more proficient at doing that sort of thing. And we also, of course, have the text number. The text number is a lovely, easy number to remember. It's 075 64 30 30 64. I think Jeff's put a lot of effort into getting these numbers, and they're really quite easy to remember. So anyway, what I want to do is encourage you to go onto the website, because the website explains everything. It's www.solihullradio, which is all one word, .com, and on there you'll also find an iPlayer. I'm sure I shouldn't use that name, but you know what I mean. A catch-up player called a podcast, and you can play these podcasts. So should you be so desirous to listen to me again, but more importantly all the other presenters, then please go on to there, and the shows stay on there for at least a week after they're presented, so you can listen to them out of time. So what I want to do now is I want to play another couple of tracks, and then I'll just talk a little bit more about what we're going to do for the rest of the evening. I've got some interesting tracks. I made a real effort this week because I suppose my favourite period of all was the late 70s and early 80s. I've mumbled about this before, when the kids were being born and we were sort of comfortably off for the first time in our lives, and not really comfortably off. I mean, we'd never really been. And there was several people at that time that I'm going to come back to tonight, because I've got 3 tracks. One of them is from a lovely American jazz singer called Julie Kelly. and she made a really classy album in the early 80s. The album was called We're On Our Way. So I'm going to play a track from that. I'm also going to play a track from Carl Anderson, and I'll talk a little bit more about him. He actually, in a sort of way, I identify with him. He was an Air Force technician, a comms technician. So, like me, he was interested in radio and communications, and he was the same age as me as well. And I sort of followed his career a little bit, and he was particularly famous because he dealt with Tim Rice, and he performed in the American version of Jesus Christ Superstar. He also backed several people, and he backed Nancy Wilson, another cool singer who I've kind of forgotten about. I must find some Nancy Wilson tracks. But he also backed Stevie Wonder on some quite famous albums, although I don't think he was ever credited for that, but I believe he did. And he also sang on Garfield. Now that makes you famous straight away. So I thought, just to go on from that, I'd come a little bit more up to date. And this is another Amy Winehouse song. And I think this is from the first album. This is from Frank. I'll be correct. Somebody will send me a text if I've said that wrong. And this is called October Song.
Today, my bird flew away, gone to find her big blue jay. Starlight, before she took flight, I sang a lullaby on birdland every night. I sang a lullaby every night, sang for my Ava every night. Ava's the morning, now she's gone. She's reborn like Sarah born. In the sanctuary she has found. Birds surround her sweet sound. And Ava flies in paradise. And Ava flies in paradise. With dread, I woke in my bed to shooting pains up in my head. Lovebird, my beautiful bird, spoke until one day she couldn't be heard. She spoke until one day she couldn't be heard. She just stopped singing. Ava's the morning, now she's gone. She's reborn like Sarah born. In the sanctuary she has found. Birds surround her sweet sound. And Ava flies in paradise. And Ava flies in paradise. Ava is the morning, now she's gone. She's reborn like Sarah born. In the sanctuary she has found. Birds surround her sweet sound. And Ava flies in paradise. And Ava flies in paradise. She flies in
I still love that album. And does anybody know the original? It's called October Song. I don't know if that's the original title or whether it was called Sanctuary. I'm not sure. Once again, a bit of research for me, but also I'm sure one of my correspondents will get back to me about that. Really interesting it's a very familiar tune, you know, and it's obviously predates that album considerably. Now, I said earlier that I was going to play a variety of songs tonight. I really wanted to play another Aretha Franklin track, but before that, and actually I might play out on that, I suppose. So I've had a request for Linda tonight, and this is from Margaret, and Margaret has very kindly said that Linda's been extremely helpful to her with all the medical visits and lots of touring around doing jobs and things. So Margaret has been very kind and asked for me to play an ABBA track, but unfortunately, the ABBA track I can't find. Very sorry about my voice again. It's still not doing terribly well at the moment. And the ABBA track that I wanted to play, I can't find. So forgive me, I'm going to play an ABBA track called Fernando, which I particularly like. And I must go and see this new movie. I know I'm a bit blokey to go and see it, but I was dragged screaming to see the first one, and I can't tell you how much I enjoyed it. It was just absolutely brilliant. And we watched it, actually, we were in Greece, and we watched it in an open-air cinema. And strangely, they had some live performers in front of the screen as well. So there was loads of kids sort of doing sort of strange dancing and things. It was just amazing. And we're sitting there with a beautiful sort of warm evening, and there was a bar at the back of the cinema, and just lovely. And we'd met these really nice people as well, and we sat with them, and that was cool.
Can you hear the drums, Fernando? I remember long ago another starry night like this. In the firelight, Fernando, you were humming to yourself and softly strumming your guitar. I could hear the distant drums and sounds of bugle calls were coming from afar. They were close now, Fernando. Every hour, every minute seemed to last eternally. I was so afraid, Fernando. We were young and full of life, and none of us prepared to die. And I'm not ashamed to say the roar of guns and cannons almost made me cry. There was something in the air that night. The stars were bright, Fernando. They were shining there for you and me, for liberty, Fernando. Though we never thought that we could lose, there's no regret. If I had to do the same again, I would, my friend Fernando. If I had to do the same again, I would, my friend Fernando. Now we're old and gray, Fernando. Since many years I haven't seen a rifle in your hand. Can you hear the drums, Fernando? Do you still recall the fateful night we crossed the Rio Grande? I can see it in your eyes, how proud we were to fight for freedom in this land. There was something in the air that night. The stars were bright, Fernando. They were shining there for you and me, for liberty, Fernando. Though we never thought that we
Well, that was a request. That was a request from Margaret on behalf of Linda, and thank you very much, Margaret, for that. Now, I do believe we're having some teething troubles tonight, so I've really no idea who can hear me and who can't hear me, but I'm going to carry on regardless, and the programme will be available, of course, on the podcast. I must apologise once again for my voice, and you've probably gathered it hasn't been that great since a year ago, and but I really wanted to say thank you very much for listening. Now, I've given you the station number here, the 7040 185, and that's the 0121 number, and so that's fine. And what I've also done is given you the text number, which is 075 64 30 30 64. Now, get on the website, because there's so much information on there, and you'll find so much information about the local area, and you'll absolutely find pictures of us, the shows that are on during the week, and a lot of information about what's going on. Anyway, I've had several requests tonight, but I didn't want to start playing any more requests if some people can't hear me properly. But then I'm getting reports that some people can, so I think I better wait until we sorted it all out. So I'm going to try and play a little bit of this girl, Julie Kelly, and let me see if I can do this. I've got quite a large sample here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try playing this and see how it sounds. So if I do a bit of sudden fading up and down, then you'll realise.
Now that is what you call a record. These are the Detroit Spin. 7-inch from their forthcoming album. What do you think of that? Yeah, me too.
This is Julie Kelly, and it's a marvelous. This is called We're On Our Way, and this is from about 1984.
Won't you take my hand so you'll understand? Every dream that's a dream is real if you don't give up on the way you feel. You and I are strong. Oh, you and I belong. We can laugh at the ways of fate, knowing how she smiles when you learn to wait. Though nobody knows what we'll find down the road, I'm glad to say you know we're on our way. We're on our way. Morning turns to night. Stars, 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 stars fade into sight. Well, people wish on a star up above, but then they find themselves by the light of love. Oh, you and I are friends. We will never, 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 never end. It's a joy to participate. Ooh, in a lover's music we create. Though nobody knows what we'll find down the road, ooh, glad to say you know we're on our way. Yes, we're on our way.
title track of a real classy album. Julie Kelly.
How cool is that? That's Julie Kelly, and a super, super album from about 1984. And that was actually, now, for those of you who know how nutty I am, that was actually a C60 cassette that I recorded in London in about 1984, 85, so mid-80s, when I was living in Farnham. And that was recorded live off the radio onto a C60, which I've had in a pile in my garage for, well, 30-odd years, I suppose that is, isn't it? And I digitized that a couple of nights ago with a view to playing it for you. So that was really cool. I think the quality is outstanding. You forget just how good C60 cassettes were. Really most interesting. I'm going to play a little short track, and then it'll be time for the news. And what I want to do is I'm going to go back and play some more Aretha Franklin, because, as you know, if you heard me earlier on, I know some people didn't seem to hear me properly. If you heard me earlier on, you'll know that Aretha Franklin is actually gravely ill, and I played a little. A couple of songs just to out of respect, and I thought just I'd go up to the news, and this is Aretha Franklin, and this is singing Respect, and how I can't think of a better thing to play. Excellent. That's, of course, the marvellous Aretha Franklin, and singing Respect, which is a lovely song to sing at this time. And I'm going to carry on and play a few more songs, but that'll take us up to the news. And right now, I thought, when I played Corinne Bailey Rae before, I've had lots and lots of very nice feedback about that. So there's a nice track here, and I hadn't heard this one before. I dug into my collection of albums, and I found this one. And this one's called Seasons Change, and it's quite, she's got a lot of really good sort of attitude towards the song.
to this, from a state of bliss, it turns to agony. You can't predict this when it comes to it. You can't hide from it, but don't you surrender anything. Don't you know that patience is a virtue? Yes, it is. And life is a waiting game. Don't you know that peace must be nurtured, and all the money in the world can buy you nothing? Let me tell you that all these things happen. All these things happen for a reason. Don't you go and throw it all away. Get yours when the seasons change. When they change. Hurts me to see you feel this way, but it won't be always. Don't you know everything got to change? Oh, feel like all your hope is gone. You can't carry on, but there's nothing wrong. You don't have to pretend with me. Don't you know that patience is a virtue? Yes, it is. And life is a waiting game. Don't you know that peace must be nurtured, and all the money in the world can buy you nothing? Let me tell you that all these things happen. All these things happen for a reason. So don't you go and throw it all away. Get yours when the seasons change.
A junior doctor convicted over the death of a 6-year-old boy has won an appeal over the decision to strike her off. But Dr. Hadiza Bauer-Garber will still face the lesser sanction previously imposed of a 1-year suspension following Jack Adcock's death in 2011. His mum, Nikki Adcock, gave her reaction.
I think it's an absolute disgrace. I think it's absolutely disgusting. She made 21 mistakes herself, all her own human errors, not system errors, her own human errors, and to be perfectly honest, I cannot believe they're going to be reinstated now.
A jury has been told it may start deliberations tomorrow in the trial of England cricketer Ben Stokes after a judge summed up the evidence in the case. The all-rounder denies account of a fray following an incident outside a nightclub in Bristol last year. Jeremy Corbyn has said he was present but not involved in a wreath-laying ceremony to remember Palestinian martyrs. Critics have accused the Labour leader of honouring terrorists. Ticketmaster's decision to close its secondary resale sites is being celebrated by music fans. No new events will now be listed on Get Me In and Seatwave. The company will instead offer a new platform for fans to sell tickets at face value or less. Annabelle Coldrick is from the Music Managers Forum.
Ticketmaster now offering this really shows that the whole market has agreed that there is a need for face value, fan-friendly resale and to freeze out the touts who are purely seeking profit.
The Housing Secretary's rejected claims no new cash is being invested in eradicating rough sleeping. James Brokenshire says half of the money will be moved from other budgets within his department. And a grieving killer whale has finally let go of her dead calf after carrying it on her back for 17 days. Experts say she's returned to her pod after a tour of grief stretching for more than 1,000 miles. She was spotted in inland waters off Washington State. That's the latest. I'm Tanya Snuggs.
Duncan McIntosh on Solihull Radio.
Now, I've got quite a few requests tonight, but due to the fact that I can't use some of the normal equipment I use to find them, I've got one or two of them correct. I've already played a request. I'm sorry if people missed it. I played a request which Margaret kindly made on behalf of Linda, which was an ABBA track. And if you didn't hear that, then I do apologise, but I'll play it again another time. And Norman, thank you very much for the songs that you've requested as well. And one or two of them I couldn't immediately find. Next week will be fine because we'll get everything working absolutely properly. We're having a little bit of teething troubles tonight. But I know what you would like. I shouldn't be presumptuous enough to say that, but I've got a feeling you might quite like this Gloria Estefan track. This is called Get On Your Feet. And, I was saying that Gloria Estefan had quite a bad traffic accident some time ago. Well, I gather she's not fully recovered necessarily, but she's perfectly well, and I think has had a child since then. So this is the marvellous, marvellous Gloria Estefan. And this is for Norman. This is called Get On Your Feet.
Spirit dying.
Well, those of you who are regular listeners will know that this is sort of the Norman and Dunk show, because Norman always provides me with several really cool tracks. And sadly, I just didn't have enough time. What with moving all the furniture and doing everything this week, I really, really struggled with finding his requests. And he'd requested this week, actually, an Etta James track and a Janice Ian track. And I've struggled with them, and I do apologise. However, I've got another Gloria Estefan track later on, not right away now, and that track is called Conga, and I'd forgotten about that. You know, it's funny when you start. I've loved this because you go back through all your old albums again, and I've even found a few 78s of my dad's. I've got some Benny Goodman 78s, so I now have managed to digitise C60 cassettes. I must be able to have a go at 78 RPM records, and so that's my next job, is to have a go at that. So Norman, I've got another Gloria Estefan track. It's called Conga. And I'd forgotten about that, but I know how much you like Latin American music, and I think you'll be really quite pleased with that. And I couldn't find the Etta James track you requested either, but I've got Etta James singing My Funny Valentine, which is actually a really cool version of that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and play some of those a little while later on. For those of you who missed earlier on, I was talking a little bit about Aretha Franklin and how sad I was that she's obviously not very well at all. So we'll keep up with the news, and I've played a couple of tracks tonight because of that. And so I thought I'd go on, and I'm on a little bit of a theme of lady singers tonight. And I've got Dinah Washington, and this is Dinah Washington singing All of Me. And I make no apologies for playing this because it's absolutely lovely. And I've still got some Frank Sinatra and some Diana Ross and some Etta James and even a couple of I've got I played that Dizzy Gillespie track, Good Bait. And I said at the time, I've no idea what good bait means, and I'd look it up, and I'm afraid I've failed to do so. But from that same session, I've got A Night in Tunisia. Night in Tunisia is a bit of a jazz standard, and it's a particularly good version of that. But right now, this is marvellous, marvellous Dinah Washington track, All of Me.
All of me. Why not take all of me? Can't you see I'm no good without you? Well, take my lips, 'cause I wanna lose them. Well, take my arms, 'cause I'll never use them. Well, your goodbye left me with eyes that cry. How can I go on, dear, without you? Say you took the part that once was my heart. So I'd suggest, baby, that you come and get the rest of me.
Dinah Washington, Max Roach.
Well, I guess that he gave the game away. Of course, that was Max Roach and Dinah Washington together, and a stunning version of All of Me. And I really like that live recording. It's so atmospheric. I mean, people sort of spoil live recordings by making them too clinical. You know, all this business of miking up each instrument separately doesn't really work for me. I quite like all the ambient noise. However, there were a couple of people yakking in the background, which puts you off a little bit. But some of that was the band, to be fair, and that's okay. I don't mind that. That's all right. They're allowed to do that. That's okay. And so that was lovely, Dinah Washington, All of Me. And you know, I'm not going to ignore either Frank Sinatra or Nat King Cole tonight. I've got a really super live track, actually. I'm concentrating on live tracks. I'm really enjoying playing live music. But I was saying a minute ago, you know, it's been just wonderful for me sort of sitting cross-legged on the floor, going through all piles and piles of old vinyl albums and sometimes sellotaping the sleeves back together where they've fallen apart in the loft, and actually rediscovering things that I'd kind of forgotten about years ago. And I know my dad would be very pleased, because a lot of these are making an outing that these haven't been out since the 1950s. So cool. Now, what I wanted to try and do, and I'm not very good at this, so what I'm going to try and do now is I'm going to try and play a track by a chap called Carl Anderson. Now, not many people will have heard of Carl Anderson. He was actually quite a famous artist in the sort of 70s and 80s, but he died quite young. He was only in his 50s when he died. And Carl Anderson, I sort of identified with this guy a little bit, because he signed up for the Air Force and he was a comms technician in the Air Force. So and he was the same age as me, sort of almost identical. I think he was tiny bit younger than me. And he had quite a successful singing career. He backed Stevie Wonder, Nancy Wilson, and I mentioned previously that he actually also was on the Garfield show, so he must be good. But he starred in the American version of Jesus Christ Superstar, and he made this album, which is called the album's called On and On, and this is from about 1983, and I've always really liked this track, so I thought I'd try and play this, but I'm not very clever at queuing these up, so you'll just have to forgive me if I fondle around with the buttons. Fiddle with buttons for a minute. So here we go. I think, with a bit of luck, this is Carl Anderson from 1983.
I should
How cool is that? That is just such a good track. I really, really, really like that. And I have to say that I recorded that from the radio, and I didn't realise that there was a little bit of speech on the end, and that little at the end wasn't me. I didn't do that. That was actually Robbie Vincent from 1980 something on Radio London. So quite a cool track. I really enjoyed that. Interestingly, that guy also he played on he did backing vocals for Weather Report as well. So something of a bit of a, I guess now I've rediscovered him. He's definitely my hero, because it's just exactly, I'd love to have done all that. It just sounds tremendous. So really cool. And so I promised another Gloria Estefan track, which I'm going to come to in a minute, but I've got Dinah Ross and Etta James, and I'm going to start off with Etta James, and this is Etta James, My Funny Valentine, and this is a lovely version of this song as well. So here we come with Etta James, and it's My Funny Valentine.
Funny Valentine, sweet comic Valentine, you make me smile with my heart. Oh, your looks are laughable, unphotographable, yet you're my favorite work of art. Is your figure less than Greek? Is your mouth a little weak when you open it to speak? Are you smart? Oh, but don't change your hair for me, not if you care for me. Stay, little Valentine, stay. Each day is Valentine's Day. figure less than Greek? Is your mouth a little weak when you open it to speak? Are you smart? Oh, but don't change your hair for me. Not if you care for me. Stay, little Valentine. Stay. Each day is Valentine's. Each day is Valentine's. Each day is Valentine's Day.
Well, I don't know who that was playing that trumpet, but he was awfully good, or she was awfully good. That's Etta James, of course, another lovely Etta James track, and a favourite song of mine, and really a most enjoyable performance, especially with that beautiful, beautiful performance of the trumpet in the background. So, once again, this is Duncan McIntosh, and this is my Monday evening show, and I really do hope you're enjoying it. And thank you for the people who get in touch with the station. I really do appreciate the contact that I receive. And I want you to know that it's very important for us to know the people that are listening, have a little bit of a profile of who you are and what you're doing. And when people send us requests, it's just so nice to have that sort of personal contact. So please feel free to keep in touch. And I've told you the numbers. It's 7040 185. It's a local number, and that's dead easy. And there's text messages 075 64 30 30 64. But you know, the easy way to do it is just go to solihullradio.com. It's easy to get hold of us, and we will respond to if you want us to advertise things, if you want us to tell you what's going on in the local area, or indeed just have record requests, then please feel free to get in touch. And if you go onto our website, you'll see what other programs, and of course as time goes on, and especially with the delightful new studio here, it's just marvellous, we'll be doing more and more broadcasting and filling in more of the hours. So thank you very much for listening, and I'm going to go and play a little bit of a cheeky jazz tune now. Actually, you know, this is Frank Sinatra, and this is the live performance with Count Basie, and this is the version that they recorded in Las Vegas, and I think this is a Quincy Jones arrangement as well, I'm fairly sure, and this is the marvellous live version of Making Whoopee.
There's nothing further to be said except the magnificent Count Basie and his great orchestra here. Getting married in the morning. Ding dong, the bells are gonna chime. We'll have a whopper, pull out the stopper, get me to the church on time. I got to get there in the morning, spruced up and looking in my prime. Girls, come and kiss me, say that you'll miss me, get me to the church on time. If I am dancing, roll up the floor. If I am whistling, out the door. I'm getting married in the morning. Ding, ding, dong, they're gonna chime. Don't lose your compass, kick up a rumpus, get me to the church. Get me to the church, for Pete's sake, get me to the church on time. If I am dancing, roll up the floor. If I am whistling, right out the door. I'm getting married in the morning. Ding dong, they're gonna chime. Girls, come and kiss me. Say that you miss me. Get me to the church. Get me to the church. For Pete's sake, get me to the church. On time. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. Ding dong. I think I made the point.
That must have been an amazing evening. Absolutely astonishing live broadcast there, or live recording of Count Basie with Frank Sinatra. And that particular track, I think, once again, it's Quincy Jones' arrangement in Las Vegas for the Sands Hotel. And, of course, they all played golf. The golf course is still there. So that was where the collection of sort of Rat Pack people all played golf on the Sands, and the Sands is still there. It must be one of the most difficult golf courses to look after because it's awfully dry there. Now, I've promised lots of things and I'm going to run out of time. So I definitely promised that I was going to play another Gloria Estefan track. And this one, I know, I've just heard from Norman to say he really likes this track. And since I couldn't find the one that he requested, I'm going to play this. And this is Gloria Estefan. And the song's called Conga. And it's once again just a fabulous Latin American. That, you know, the whole, the beat is terrific. The band plays beautifully. And she's just amazing.
Come on, shake your body, baby, do that conga. No, you can't control yourself any longer. Come on, shake your body, baby, do that conga. No, you can't control yourself any longer. Come on, shake your body, baby, do that conga. No, you can't control yourself any longer. Feel the rhythm of the music getting stronger. Don't you fight it till you try to do that conga beat.
Really, really great track, that. So thank you, Norman, for suggesting that I played one of those tracks. And I'm sorry it wasn't quite the right one, but never mind. We'll catch up with the correct one next week, I hope. And hopefully by next week I'll have a few of the little wrinkles, or Jeff will have a few of the little wrinkles ironed out, and everything will be working up to speed. And it's quite remarkable. We moved all this stuff from the previous studio, which was wonderful, and it was a great start for us because we really were, beginning from nothing. And we built up the station, we built all the equipment, we got it all working ourselves. And up until a few weeks ago, we were perfectly happy in the previous studio, but it's just too far outside of central Solihull, and it was very, very cold in the winter, and then blisteringly hot during that hot weather. So this is just remarkable. We've come into this place. This place has got air conditioning, for goodness sake, and it's just very, very comfortable indeed. So I'm going to now try and do one of my little tricks here. I'm going to try and cue another track from that radio broadcast. This is, if you go back to the 70s, as I seem to do all the time, in 1975 there was, of course, all the famous sort of groups. There was a lot of sort of funk jazz groups at that time. There was Kool and the Gang was a really super band. There was, what else was there at that time? Oh, of course, Earth, Wind and Fire. But there was another one which I really liked, and everybody's forgotten this, I'm quite sure, because although they started in about 1975 and made some albums, they didn't stick around for very long. So I think they packed up in the sort of mid-80s, and they're also slightly bizarrely named Chocolate Milk. And this is a 1980 12-inch vinyl, and it's called Actions Speak Louder Than Words. And once again, I'm going to cue this from a tape, so forgive me if I fumble a bit.
His album.
Not too bad, not too bad.
Action speaks louder than words. 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 People say there's gonna be a better day. But the world is the same in every way. Action speaks louder than words. Action speaks louder than words. Action speaks louder than words.
Chocolate Milk from 1980, 12-inch that was. Action speaks louder than words.
Great. Really good track. I like that very, very much. And along the same lines, you know, that's so much of that sort of 70s sort of vibe and really cool, you know, jazz funk, I suppose you'd call it. And I just thought what went beautifully with that as well is Stevie Wonder. And this is Stevie Wonder's marvellous tribute to Duke Ellington. It's called Sir Duke.
Music is a world within itself, with a language we all understand, with an equal opportunity for all to sing, dance, and clap their hands. Well, just because the record has a groove, don't make it in the groove. But you can tell right away left to A when the people start to move. They can feel it all over. They can feel it all over people. They can feel it all over. They can feel it all over people. Go! Music knows it is and always will be one of the things that life just won't quit. But here's some of music's pioneers that time will not allow us to forget now. Well, there's Basie Miller, Timo, and the king of all Surdo. And with a voice like Ella's ringing out, there's no way the band could lose. You can feel it all over. You can feel it all over people. You can feel it all over. You can feel it all over people. You can feel it all over. You can feel it all over people. You can feel it all over. You can feel it all over people. Yeah, go, go. You can feel it all over. You can feel it all over people. You can feel it all over. You can feel it all over people. You can feel it all over. You can feel it all over people. You can feel it all over. I can feel it all over now, people. Can't you feel it all over? Come on, let's feel it all over, people. You can feel it all over. Everybody all over, people. Go! Go on the look.
If you ever plan to motor west, travel my way, take the highway, that's the best. Get your kicks on Route 66. It winds from Chicago to L.A. more than 2,000 miles all the way. I get your kicks on Route 66. Now you go through St. Louis, Joplin, Missouri, and Oklahoma City looks mighty pretty. You'll see Amarillo, Gallup, New Mexico, Flagstaff, Arizona. Don't forget Winona, Kingman, Boston, San Bernardino. Want you get hip to this timely tip when you make that California trip. I get your kicks on Route 66. Timely tip when you make that California trip. I get your kicks on Route 66. I get your kicks on Route 66. I get your kicks on Route 66. Get your get your get your kicks on Route 66.
Duncan McIntosh on Solihull Radio.
Well, I'm really sorry. I'm afraid it's that time again. It's coming up for 2 hours. I can't believe once again that I've been on for 2 hours. So I just thought tonight, I haven't played out on Oscar Peterson for a little while. I'm sure somebody will correct me and say I have done, but I don't think I have. And this is Night Train. This is the title track from the best album, I think, in the world. This is called, the album's called Night Train, and this is the title track from it. And it's actually, I think, originally a Duke Ellington chart, and I think it's also something Go Lucky. I can't recall the name of the track. Once again, one of my correspondents will tell me. So this is a beautiful track, and it's beautifully played at the peak of Peterson's career. So I'm going to say thank you ever so much for listening. I really do appreciate it, and I hope you've enjoyed some of the music that I've played tonight. And I am sorry about my voice. I'll bring some cough mixture with me next time. And I can't tell you how pleasurable it is to be in this new studio. And thanks ever so much to the staff, particularly Jeff, who's done so much to organise this. So I'm going to say good night. I'm going to sign off saying thank you so much for listening and just play a little bit more of Oscar Peterson.